Hello, my fellow humans, and welcome back to another Daily Dice, where we ask the dice for a message and find out what that is. I want to say thank you to anyone and everyone that continues to be a supportive part of this journey, this channel, this ever-growing tribe. I am truly honored to be sharing this time and this space with you. And for those of you new here, welcome. This is that reminder we're all here sharing this human experience, and that this is a safe space to show up as your highest, most aligned, loving, authentic self. Should these messages happen to resonate with you, it would mean so much to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe down below. With that being said, let's go ahead and hop to it. Today we are getting a message direct from Source. So Source, what is the message you have for my fellow humans today? What would you like them to know? Source, what is the message that you have for my fellow humans today? What would you like them to know? What is the message you have today for my fellow humans, Source? Okay, so we've got the first house Gemini energy and Saturn. This is an interesting mix here, right? So we're coming up into a place of really honoring how we appear to others, right? Like how we appear for ourselves to others. So it's like being really authentic to ourselves and letting that shine out and being honest about that and communicating that to the world. I feel like this is more than that, though. This is about finding out where those blockages are on your journey and really defeating them in a sense, right? Defeating them by being completely honest with yourself. It's just like, you know, a good way to overcome your fear of being judged by others is to go out into a very public place and act as goofy as you can, because you demolish your ego when you do that. And it sounds so weird, like, why would I ever do that? I can't do that. But the more that you say you can't do that, the more that that's something that you should do. Because it's in that moment when you realize it wasn't as dangerous as your emotional ego is making it out to be. And that's the energy that I'm getting right now. It's like really something that you're doing or something that you're about to do for yourself. It's like going against everything that your emotional ego has stood for, and your emotional ego gets basically just destroyed and banished in the process, right? And even though we banish or you go through the egoic death, like we still have to build from that, because we can fall back into old habits and old patterns, because it's just habitual. We're habitual creatures. It's natural for us to do so. But it's like in doing this, you're actually finding out a way to overcome some sort of hurdle in your journey. And when you overcome it, you look at that hurdle and you say, wow, that looked like Mount Everest to me. And in reality, it was something that was so small that all I had to do was step over it. But there's something really drastic here that you do, that you're communicating with yourself, or that you communicate to others. It's just like, you just, like, if you want to be a singer and you've always been afraid to sing in front of other people, like you go somewhere where you don't know anyone and you just start singing. That's the type of energy that I'm getting here, right? And it has to do with your throat chakra. So it's like if you're afraid of public speaking, like you just say, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go and stand up in front of all these people and I'm going to recite Romeo and Juliet. And it all of a sudden helps you overcome your fear of public speaking. You're like, wow, that wasn't as bad as I really thought it was. And it's like that high that you get from facing your fear actually takes you into a very disciplined state where you begin building a very solid foundation for yourself, and you begin to understand that how you thought others viewed you was nothing like what you actually thought it was. In fact, it was completely different, because no one actually viewed you the way that you thought you thought they did, right? It's like if you're like, oh, people make fun of me, and, you know, you go and you do this thing and people clap, you're like, wow, people really weren't making fun of me at all, right? That's the type of energy that's coming through. And so that's what Source is saying. Like, and if you're worried about that, they're saying that it's important for you to do something drastic like that right now to help begin to build this solid foundation so that you can begin to be more authentic to yourself. You know, I have a short story while I shuffle the cards here. Is one time when the new Backstreet Boys album came out. Yes, I'm a Backstreet Boys fan. I love Backstreet Boys. I was never into NSYNC. I was always a Backstreet Boys girl, okay? BSB for life. I know that's controversial in itself, but I remember one time I was like so scared to sing in front of people because I was like, oh, I'm a terrible singer, even though it's something I've always wanted to do. You notice I sing on my videos because I get music channeled to me so much, but I've always loved the idea of singing. And so one day I went when the new album came out and their new song hit, and I took it to Walmart and I let it play on the speaker, and I just walked around in Walmart and sang it while it was playing on the speaker, and people stopped and they came to stare at me and they were looking at me, and maybe people said what they said, you know, whatever it was. But I can tell you, when I got in the car after that, I was like, why was I so scared? That was the question I asked myself. I was like, why was I so scared about that? And so sometimes now in Walmart, when the radio is playing and there's people, you know, the songs that I know, like I'll just start singing it in Walmart, because it's just a reminder that it's not as scary as I made it out to be in my own mind. See, we have the world coming out in the reverse here. It's like showing that, you know, you're not seeing it clearly. It's like your emotional ego is taking over here, and it's like so conceited that the whole world revolves around you, right? But it doesn't. It doesn't. It's like the whole world doesn't even know you exist. And I know that sounds like such a blow. It's like, well, so what's the point? Because the point is finding the courage to do the things that you desire to do. Public speaking, creative writing, poetry reading, art, whatever it is. It doesn't matter, whatever it is. It's like finding a way to express that out into the world without letting other people hold you back. So there's something here that they're asking you to drastically change. Yeah, so that you can become solid in understanding that it was all just an illusion, right? Especially the 9 of coins in the reverse here. It's showing that this is a physical manifestation of an illusion that's happening in your life. And that comes from the physical manifestation is the block and the barrier that's coming from preventing you from doing this. And it's making you feel defeated in some cases, and spiritually it's like being unrest spiritually, right? Like you're not at ease because you're not doing what you want to do. Your spirit's not doing what it wants to do. And it feels like you've fallen from grace here. Right? Yeah. And it feels like there's people against you, but there's not. It's just like you take 1 step forward and 3 steps back. We're trying to bring you into this new journey, right? That's exactly what Source is saying here. It's like we're trying to bring you into this new journey and let you see just how powerful you really are. But not just powerful, but how it's not as big a deal as your emotional ego likes to make it out to be, right? And that's everybody. Like our emotional fears and all that stuff sometimes just get the better of us. So don't beat yourself up. We have Fire Dragon. Burns up the lower energies around you. You are safe and protected. Be determined and inspired. Clear your soul pathway. Yeah, so this is about walking through the fire. Okay, through the flames of justice for your soul path to help you align with a higher version of yourself. Look, we have Golden Solar Dragon. Yeah, lighting. This is lighting your solar plexus chakra. Okay, this helps you stand within your masculine power and wisdom. Or, I'm sorry, helps you stand in your masculine power with wisdom. Let your DNA be reprogrammed and light codes activated. Become an inspired leader, right? Be determined and inspired. So there's something about inspiring here. You're going to be inspired to do something. And really the goal is what Source is saying is don't pull on the emergency handbrake like we usually do when we get inspired to do something. We're like, no. And then your emotional ego is like, oh, okay, we're comfortable. We didn't do that. You know, you want to overcome the emotional ego here, and that's by making the emotional ego uncomfortable. That's what makes us so uncomfortable, is because we're making the emotional ego uncomfortable. It's not really that uncomfortable for us. It's really not. Like our soul's okay with it. Our soul's like, yeah, this is great. I'm so glad you're doing it. And that's what we want to align with. But our emotional ego is the one that is honestly a brat. It's a real brat in our lives, and we're just trying to face it instead of letting it control us, right? We have the Royal Blue and Gold Dragon. Strengthens you to stand in your power with wisdom. Awaken to your own majesty and wear your cloak of power with pride. Exactly. Wear your cloak of power with pride. There's no need for you to be ashamed of putting yourself out there. So what? People are going to judge you if you do or if you don't. Wouldn't you be happier doing the things that make you happy and being judged for those rather than being judged for the things that you can't stand to do and you're miserable and people are still judging you? You know, excuse the expression, but it's what's coming through right now is damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Like that is the expression, and that expression exists for a reason. Because there's just people who just judge. That's all they do. It's like they make it a lifetime work habit to judge other people. Can you imagine how miserable that is for those people? That's why it's like, don't take judgment so personally, because most of the time somebody who's judging you for what you're doing that has somehow, some way triggered them, that person judges others harshly as well. But not only that, they judge themselves on a very, very personal level. And that's why they're doing this. So we have the addict that came out. Helps you recognize and confront addictive behavior. And addictive behavior is like this image, right? Pushing away the emotional ego. We have compromise, integrity, and honesty. It allows an addictive pattern to have authority over your inner spirit. And this is the perfect picture of the emotional ego versus the spirit, right? Your spirit helps you recognize yourself and confront that fear. Your emotional ego says, no, the fear controls us. 11:11 on the clock. The fear controls us and we cannot confront it, right? So you get to choose what you want to do. And then we have the student. With light is humility and devotion to knowledge, openness to lifelong learning, and the shadow is arrogance in the pursuit of destructive knowledge, unwillingness to translate knowledge into action. So don't let your emotional ego keep you stuck and unwilling to translate what it is that you've learned into that action. On the bottom, we have the Virgin, with the light being maintaining symbolic purity of heart and spirit, and the shadow is fear of intimate union. Okay, and that's the thing. Our emotional ego is always trying to keep us separate from our spirit because it's trying to protect us, and it just doesn't understand that it's keeping us in situations that harm us, right? In its mind, it's saying, well, I'm doing this with the best of intentions. You know how people say that? I have only your best in mind. I only have your good in mind. Like, I want the best of the best for you, but they're putting us in situations that aren't serving us. Our emotional ego does the same thing. I only have your highest good in mind based on the knowledge from the betrayals, the pains, and the suffering that I have received in my life. Not from your soul level, right? It's just what I've received through the illusion of life. I have your best in mind. And I don't want to run away from that. I don't want to walk away from that. But the soul is here to help you push that out and say, no, I'm here to help guide us to a higher version, a more loving version, a more aligned version of ourselves so that we can be the light incarnate. Okay? So this is what Source has for you here. If you felt like this was your message, leave the little wave emoji down below and say, I choose to sit with my emotions so that I may walk through the waters and be cleansed and come into my spiritual light. And it would mean so much to me if you're to like, comment, and subscribe down below. If you choose to share your story, just know that I'm so blessed and honored that you choose to share it here. I do love hearing from you all. And if you're interested in supporting the channel further, you'll find all those links in the description box. In order to do so, you can email me for a personal reading. You can follow me on over to my podcast on Spotify at Scatter Love Radio. You can join as a member, and I would love to see you on memberships, but if not, thank you for your continued support here. I'm going to go ahead and leave this here, but I do want to thank Source. I want to thank your angels, your spirit messengers, and my spirit guides for coming together to give us this message. And until next time, stay human. Bye.